I am back with another Pokemon video. And why not? It's one of my favourite gaming series, it's one of my favourite gaming genres, and I've got a lot of experience with Pokemon. Especially these ones of Gold, Silver and Crystal. If you are new to Retro Wars, then welcome. I try and do a new retrospective video on the video games we used to play back when we were kids each month. And what would really help the channel if you give a like and comment to this video and subscribe to any future content. And also, I'm going to say this right now before you all moan in the comments. If you're wondering why there's like an Entei at level 15 or whatever, this footage is from when I used to do Pokemon videos, okay? And I did modded videos because I used to do challenge runs. So no moaning, that's why the level's all over the place. It was a bit of fun. Okay, let's not take this too seriously. It's a joke of a video. Well, I'm a joke. This is a joke. Come on, let's have some fun, shall we? Now, Pokemon at this stage has become a global phenomenon. We've got movies, TV shows, card games, films. South Park mocked it. Red, blue, and yellow had come from absolutely nowhere and taken over the world. I was eating absolutely everything Nintendo and Game Freak were chucking out. If it was Pokemon related, I wanted it. And I must have been thinking, well, the sequel's gotta be coming. Surely it's gotta be coming. The thing was, the sequel was already out. Well, in Japan. Remember the scene of the first episode of Pokemon where Ash looks up and sees a giant gold bird? I had no idea what that was. That wasn't part of the original 151. Well, in fact, it wasn't. It was Ho-Oh from the next generation. Gold and Silver in Japan were already out, and the Japanese knew exactly what was going on. This was long before the internet was, used for most things that rhyme with the word corn. And I had no idea. And the fact that the game was even out, I had not a clue. So when I was in the playground, there were loads of rumours going round that there's going to be a new evolution for Blastoise. There's going to be a new evolution for Raichu, which in fact was called Gorichu. Why, oh why did we not get Gorichu? I would have killed for Gorichu back in the day. I'm still adamant we get Gorichu. I still want to see that from Game Freak. I know you listen to these videos. Please put Gorichu in the game. I'll be very happy. Now, eventually we started getting some info, and I was eating anything I could. And yes, of course, there's an advert that went with it. Here it is.
You've conquered red. You've mastered blue. You've triumphed over yellow. You've caught them all. And now you're ready for the next step. Welcome to the world of Pokémon Gold and Silver. Tons of new Pokémon, new adventures and worlds to explore, new badges to collect. So you've got to ask yourself, have you got what it takes? Pokemon Gold and Silver, rated E for everyone. Gotta catch 'em all.
First of all, that advert is absolute bullshit. Well, it's bullshit for two reasons. One, when I beat the original Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow, I didn't have loads and loads of people lining up to praise me like I was a god. That never happens. Two, I didn't get to fly a Lugia. That's some bullshit right there. Although, to be fair, if I sat on a Lugia, I swear to God, I'm going to break the thing's spine. Once Gold and Silver was released, I was there day one. I got Pokemon Gold, and my brother got Pokemon Silver. I took it home, ripped open the box, which was in hindsight a very silly thing to do, threw it in my Game Boy Color, and then was welcomed to the world of Johto. Now, you immediately noticed the game is in full color. This was a big step up from Pokemon Yellow, which had started putting a bit of colour in. And also the Pokemon looked like that they were meant to. Remember in the previous video, well, if you haven't watched it, some of the Gen 1 sprites were absolutely dreadful. Need I remind you, look at this, and this. Yes, they look nothing like their counterparts. They're disgusting. This was now a brand new world of Pokemon. You're in Johto, not Kanto. And at first, I struggled because I don't like change. I like things to remain as they are. This is why I'm defined as a Gen 1er, because I only want Gen 1, that's all I ever want. You're welcome to a new character in Gold, and you're asked by Professor Elm to drop off a custom Pokeball. But to begin your adventure, you need a Pokemon friend to keep you safe, and you're offered the choice of 3, as you were before in the previous games. Once again, it's a fire, a water, and a grass type. These being Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Chikorita. Welcome to your new generation of Pokemon. Now let's go through each one. Cyndaquil, yeah, I've never been really a fan of Cyndaquil. I think, unfortunately, it's a bit let down because later generations Typhlosion, its final evolution, kind of got screwed by the 3D era. Totodile is my best friend. Totodile is one of my favourite Pokemon of all time. And I will do stupid impressions for as long as I live. Totodile is my man. I've always gone Totodile. He is king. I wish he was more competitively viable. I love him. I want to give him a big cuddle. And Feraligatr is the man. He is the dude. Although in Generation 4, I don't know why Feraligatr has this butt.
Hot damn!
But the one I don't like at all is called Chikorita. I hate Chikorita with a passion. So much so, I'm loathed to even use the word Chikorita and prefer to call it its real name, Shitorita. Yes, when I was previously doing YouTube on another channel, I would only refer to this thing as Shitorita, and that still sticks with me now, even though it was many years ago. There was previously a video I saw, I don't know if it was on TikTok, where a Shitorita was being, well, a dead one, was being undressed for eating. And this cheered me up immensely. Here's the video, by the way, and I'm talking over it, because if I don't talk over it, I'm going to be in so much trouble and it will get claimed. But this is hilarious. This is making my day. Like, I honestly would throw the rest away, and I don't think even my dog would eat it, because it looks disgusting. It's a plant. How horrific is that thing? Bleh. Bulbasaur for the win. Now, there was a glitch in the game to get all three, but why would you do that though? Because Shitorita is shit. Just do it for the first two and then you're on your way. The game introduced us to many new Pokemon. 100 in fact. Some of my favourites from this generation were Scizor, Steelix, Lugia, Tyranitar, and Crobat. And can I just pull this up? So Crobat is the evolution of Golbat. Do you know how big Crobat is? He's huge. A Crobat is absolutely monstrous. Here is how big a Crobat is. Could you imagine if that thing came at you? You would want to cry. I would be running for the hills if I saw a Crobat in real life. It also brought with it different types of Pokemon. And what do I mean? Baby Pokemon. Yes, baby Pokemon is what we got instead of Gorochu. We got this, a Pichu. Yay. And baby Pokemon have now become a thing. I don't like baby Pokemon. Come at me with a hate. I want my Gorochu. I'm just grumpy. Leave me alone. It also brought with it two new types. The Steel type and the Dark type. Unfortunately, the Dark type sucked at this stage of the game. It was brought in to try and make sure that Psychic Pokemon didn't dominate again. The problem was, its move pool in Generation 2 was, pretty crap, to be honest. It was shockingly bad. And the Steel type really didn't have much else going for it. They did update Magnemite's type, and instead of being just electric, they now made that electric steel. The game introduced a new rival in Silver, or question marks, whatever you leave it as. I've heard people who have called it question mark. I thought that was great when I heard that. In my opinion, after Silver, the rivals get poo because they're all friendly at this point. I want my angry rival. I like my bitter, horrible, grumpy, mean, spiteful rival. That's what I want. I don't want them to be nicey nice. I don't want to cuddle. I want to fight them. So I did love Silver because of his attitude. All Silver wants, though, is power. He wants it to defeat Team Rocket because you find out in Generation 4, he's actually Giovanni's son. And he sees Pokemon as tools of war. So much so, his Golbat doesn't evolve until much later in the game, after he's realised that, wow, okay, I was treating Pokemon quite badly. See, the thing is with Blue and Silver, like Blue was cocky, he knew what he wanted to be the champion. And Silver didn't really have that goal, he just wanted power to defeat Team Rocket. He has real growth that a lot of other rivals don't simply have, because the game teaches you that being mean is not the way forward. Naughty boy. You're not a Pokemon trainer, you're a very naughty boy. At the end of the day, Pokemon are living beings and they're not just tools for power. I would genuinely like to see Silver again in the series, because we've not really seen anything of him, and I'd like to see if his character has grown. Now, the plot. Similar to the first game, you're going out to complete the Pokédex, obtain 8 badges, beat the Elite Four, beat Team Rocket again. Well, the game is a direct sequel. It actually is. It's set 2 years after the events of the first one. Team Rocket are now leaderless and desperate to get their leader back, Giovanni. You first meet them at a well where you find out they're doing a little business trying to cut off slowpoke tails and sell them for food. Later on, you find out they've developed a machine which can force Pokemon to evolve early. Now, I didn't mind this. It gave a bit of character to Team Rocket. But my problem is that there wasn't any main bad guy to focus my rage on. It was just Team Rocket grunts. They later improved this in Generation 4 remakes, but I wanted that at the beginning. Because in Generation 1, I had Giovanni to focus my rage on. Here, I've got nothing, which sucks. The series also tried to introduce a lot of lore compared to the first one. See, there's a place called the Burnt Tower, which is cool in itself. But what it basically says was that 3 Pokemon died, which is grim, and they were brought back to life by Ho-Ho, and they turned out to be the legendary dogs of Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. That's pretty cool. And also that Ho-Ho and the other box legendary Lugia are part of the story. There's also the Celebi Shrine in the Elix Forest, which you can't do fuck all in the original games unless you're in Japan. We'll get onto that at some point. It also began a trend where the box legendaries is heavily involved. Yes, in red, blue, yellow and green, it is Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur and yellow, but that doesn't happen going forward. And in future generations, the legendaries get even more involved, looking at you, Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald. So what else is new? Well, there were new ways to evolve your Pokemon. The first one being trading with items. Previously, you had to trade some of your Pokemon to a friend, and they would evolve once they reach there. Now, you can put an item on them. They can hold items, which is pretty cool. We'll get onto that. So what else is new? Well, Pokemon can hold items. Now, this was very new at this stage, so mostly you'd give them a berry, and once they reached a certain HP, they would automatically use the berry. There were other items like the Quick Claw, which would let you go first, but the item system really didn't hit its stride until much later on. But being able to hold items means they could be traded with the item in hand. Now, at the previous game, when you traded some Pokemon over to a friend, they would evolve. But starting in this generation, for some Pokemon, if they have a held item when they're traded, they'll evolve. One example, Onix. If it has the metal coat attached, it will evolve into the mighty Steelix. The stupid thing with that is, Onix has no arms. How is he holding anything? Where is he holding anything? I know, people are going to come at me, this is video game logic, I don't care, I want some realism in my games. Where the fuck is he holding that item? Tell me now, tell me. There's also a friendship mechanic. Now, this friendship mechanic has changed dramatically over the years, but based on how much a Pokemon loves you, it can affect certain moves, it can also affect if a Pokemon's going to level up. You can increase your friendship by making sure it doesn't faint, leveling up, giving it vitamins, giving it haircuts, taking it to a massage parlour, not that sort of massage parlour, and the most common way is just taking it for a walk, just walking around. And once you hit the required number and you level up, your Pokemon will evolve. Now, I had a level 100 Chansey I had from Red and Blue, and I didn't realise that it needed to go up a level to get to Blissey. So that was never going to happen because it was level 100. And no matter what I did, no matter how many things and haircuts and everything I gave it, I took it to the massage parlours. I took it to the other massage parlours. Yes, I did. You know I didn't. Obviously I didn't. That's not real. Shut up. Shut up. Either way, it was never going to evolve into Blissey. The game introduced a day-night cycle, which was pretty cool and pretty radical at those times. Now, this day-night cycle affected the way you caught Pokemon. There were certain Pokemon that would only come out at certain times of the day, which was really cool. And it kind of had that feeling was, well, you can basically play in the night, you can play in the morning. I was like, wow, that works into my schedule quite well. It also affected one of the evolutions, namely the 2 new ones they introduced. If you had the right friendship level and evolved Eevee during the night, it would turn into Umbreon, the dark type. Do it in the day, it would turn into Espeon, the psychic type. I always went with Espeon, but in reality as a defensive Pokemon, Umbreon's pretty cool. It just had really annoying moves back then. But back then, we didn't really use annoying moves. We're like, yeah, these are useless. But when you face Umbreon later, you realise he's a bit of a dick. So Umbreon as a defensive Pokemon is great. Just stupid for attacking. As well as a day-night cycle, the game introduced a week schedule. This is amazing that they took such a big step. So there'd be things going on a Monday, there'd be things going on a Tuesday, Saturday, etc, etc. So for one example, there was a bug catching competition that would happen on a certain day. So if you missed it, unlucky for you got to wait until it's next back on, which could be the following day. Yes, there was a bug catching competition. The idea was you had to go catch the best bug you can and present it. You could headbutt trees. Yes, you could give your Pokemon a concussion, and if you get it right, a Pokemon will fall out. There were different Pokeballs you could get. Now, there was a guy called Kurt, and he would make his own Pokeballs for you. I thought this was a good idea, but I never really used them. These balls can be used, maybe quick balls, basically use them straight away, their advantage goes up. It could be they're used for the water, they could be used for caves, there were all sorts of different types. And this mechanic has only increased as the games have gone forward. Then you've got breeding. Oh my god, breeding. Yes, if you get two Pokemon who are compatible from different genders, they will breed. And by doing so, you're able to pass on stats, possibly learnt moves, even ones that Pokemon can't normally learn. Now this opens up the game dramatically. When you basically go past the breeding house, a man will pop out and say, I have no idea how this happened. Are you joking? Like, Professor Oak gets excited by it. It's an egg. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, to the breeding man, what do you mean you had no idea how this happened? You were probably watching my Pokemon hump. That's how it happened. And even Professor Oak, for Christ's sake, how are you excited by this? You're meant to be one of the leading professors in the whole world. Surely you know how Pokemon come into this world. It's like the most common thing in the world. You probably ate Chikorita, like an unfertilized Chikorita for breakfast. I don't know. There's got to be eggs. Come on, if there's eggs, there's eggs. Don't question it. It's probably true. So surely you know how Pokemon come into this world. Why are you so excited by this? And also back to that daycare man. I'm paying you to do this. It's ridiculous. What am I paying you for? Although there are some dark elements from this, as we joke. If you use a Ditto, yeah, a Ditto's a bit of a whore. It doesn't matter whether you put Ditto with a male or a female, it will breed with it. Yep, Ditto is a whore. Also, incest is actively encouraged. Yep. You think I'm joking? Nope. Say you breed two Charizards together. They produce a baby. You get a male baby with better stats than its father. You will then immediately get that Charmander to breed with its mother Charizard. You think that's wrong? That's exactly how you get the best Pokemon. The best stats are Pokemon that are inbred. It's a fact of life. I'm sorry. Pokemon is just inbreeding. And these things haven't even had a battle. They are minutes old and they're expected to fuck them up. Think about that when you want to make the best Pokemon you want to make. Yeah, awkward. But the thing is, breeding is one of the most important mechanics for competitive play. And especially if you want to play Pokemon Crystal and you do the Battle Tower, you need to do this to get the best stats if you want to compete against some of those top teams. Another thing this game introduced was shiny Pokemon. Now, this was huge for one side of the Pokemon community. The first time you see one is often Red Gyarados, and it's often considered the first. And oh my word, is it beautiful. You can get your starter to be shiny, but good luck with those odds because they are so high. And if you get a shiny Chikorita, please make sure that you release it and save your file immediately. You also can get a shiny from the daycare man when he gives you an egg, and you're gonna get a baby shiny, which is pretty cool to have to begin with. Now, shiny Pokemon are incredible, as I've just mentioned. Shiny Gyarados is really cool. And later on, shiny Charizard, awesome. And in future generations, you've got shiny Primal Groudon, shiny Mega Rayquaza. They are godlike designs. And some people actually make their careers out of catching this. But when you think of the odds of trying to do this, nope, because their odds are, pretty low to get a shiny odds. People can be hunting for weeks to get these things. I ain't getting involved with that. Put it like that. If you want to do it, fine. Not for me. Anything else new? Oh yeah, the Poké Gear. So the Poké Gear is your map, it's a radio, it can change music you listen to, and you get a phone. Yes, you get a phone. Ah, the phone. Now after beating certain trainers, they offer you your number. Now the reason they give you their number is often sometimes they want to have a battle against you again, or they can let you know when certain Pokemon are going to be spawning, or possibly give you an item. But most of the time, they just call about what they're up to. Honestly, never get a phone number, it's a waste of time, but the only number you should obtain is Youngster Joey. Yes, that little shit. If you get his number and he calls you up for a battle with his Rattata, go end him at any opportunity. I don't care what you're about to do. Go and fight the Elite Four? Nope. Go back and fight Youngster Joey and put the little shit in his place. On a serious note, it's quite creepy passing on phone numbers. Like I'm 10 years old. Seriously, at the time I never had any problems with it. But playing it as an adult and going back and looking at their quotes and when they get pissed off because you don't take their number, it's a bit creepy. I don't think that would be put into modern day video games anymore because it's a little bit weird. Yeah. Now, the main thing with Pokemon is the battling system. Well, the first things first, they fixed their special stats. Now, let's just refresh what I mean from that. Pokemon have stats. They have different stats that determine how good they are. These are their HP, their attack, their defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. The problem was, in the first generation, the special attack and special defense were merged just for the special stat, and that covered both sides. So a Pokemon like Alakazam had a ridiculously high special attack and special defense, as well as a really good speed stat, which meant it wrecked teams. And there was also a move called Amnesia, which would raise the special stat twofold, which meant, yeah, it was pretty broken. But come the second generation, they split the stat and solved the problem. So now the special attack was its own stat and the special defense was its own stat. Also, Amnesia affected only special defense, so that meant their move wasn't completely broken. And as it got pointed out to me many times in the red, blue and yellow video, yes, Gyarados stats were fine in Generation 1, they were okay, it was Generation 2 he got screwed over, not Generation 1. Alright. I constantly kept getting told in the comments, Gyarados is fine in Generation 1, I don't know what you're on about, it's Generation 2. Listen, I'm reading. Leave me alone, people. It's fine. We got there. Sadly, though, we still had the same problem where certain moves were physical and certain moves were special, and that was it for the whole type. So, for example, all fire moves were special, even some move like Fire Punch. That didn't get resolved until Generation 4. This game also introduced entry hazards. What I mean by that? A Skarmory might throw some spikes on the floor, and when its opponent switches in, it stands on the spikes, which is not very nice. But it's also not very impressive, but wait until Stealth Rock comes in a few generations later. We also had weather introduced, which was great. So in this game we had sun, rain, and sandstorm. So when the sun comes up, well, water moves are reduced and fire moves are powered up. And the sandstorm effect was great for rock, steel, and ground types, where if you weren't one of those types, every turn you would lose 1/16 of your health. It also improved the special defense of rock types. But you wait until the weather wars begin in a few years when the primals come in. Woo baby, those weather wars were impressive. It also fixed one of the main problems they had in Generation 1, which was the wrap, sleep, and ice thawing problems. Now, if you don't know what I meant, in Generation 1, if you used the move wrap and you were quicker, you could continuously have someone trapped in the wrap move and there was nothing they could do. So some people would use a Pokemon like Dragonite, use agility, and then use wrap, and there was nothing the opponent could do. Same with sleep. When a Pokemon woke up from sleep, that was the end of their turn. And that's not the case this time. When a Pokemon does wake up from sleep, they can immediately attack. It doesn't stop them getting put to sleep next turn, but at least they can do something. Also, ice thawing, as I mentioned, was a huge issue in Generation 1. If you were frozen by a move, such as Ice Beam or Blizzard, that was the end. There was nothing you could do. But now, after so many turns, the ice could thaw, which was great, because this didn't mean that Blizzard and Ice Beam were absolutely broken. Outside of battle, yes, they fixed one of the main problems that affected everybody, which was the box and item problem. So what would happen if your box or your items were full and you decided you wanted to catch a new Pokemon or you wanted to get a new item, you couldn't. Either you had to change the box or you had to get rid of some items. And it was a pain a little bit with the items because you had to throw something out, but it was more of a pain with the box because you could get to a Pokemon like Mewtwo, go for the Master Ball, and yep, your box is full, there's nothing you can do, and Mewtwo's gone. There's nothing you can do. So make sure you save before that, or you're in big trouble. So that was now not an issue, because the item bag was limitless, and the box would automatically go to the next one once it was full. It still didn't fix the problem with HMs. They were everywhere, and they added more. In fact, you needed 3 different HM moves for water traversal. 3! Are you joking? Waterfall, Surf, and Whirlpool. That's ridiculous. 3! But, this is where the game improved. Previously, if you gave a Pokemon a HM, that was it. They were stuck with it, and nothing you can do. But here, you get to Blackthorn City, and you can remove them. Oh my god, that was the best feeling ever to remove a HM move. I think everyone felt so happy with this. I was happy, everyone was happy, because in reality, the team at Game Freak really did do everything they can to try and improve the first. The system wasn't perfect, it wasn't, but it was a fantastic step in the right direction. You could even transfer your old Pokemon from Red, Blue, and Yellow into the game. You could even transfer some of the same decks into the previous game. They had to make sure they were not new Pokemon or they had no new moves, but that was still pretty cool. Unfortunately, that was where a lot of my old Pokemon have now died because you couldn't get them to Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. So my Generation 1 and Generation 2 Pokemon have sadly passed away. My Generation 3 onwards, yeah, they're still kicking. They are still kicking on my modern day games, which is quite insane to be honest. Now, let's be quite positive and focus on the adventure itself. As I said, this follows the same thread of the previous game. You collect 8 badges, beat the Elite Four, blah 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 blah. First up is you fight Faulkner, the flying gym leader, where he uses his dad's Pokemon. And one of them is a level 9 Pidgeotto. Wait, what? Whoa, that's a level 9 Pidgeotto. That is cheating. That is cheating right from the off. Right, that is cheating beyond cheating. No one gonna pull this up? Is no one gonna question this? No, we just have to fight it. Great. And the annoying thing is, out of his team, yeah, no Johto Pokemon. 2 Kantos. So we're going to keep a little bit of a tally here. So far, no Johto Pokemon. Next up is Bugsy. Does he improve that? Nope. It's 0 for 3 with his team. He has no Johto Pokemon either. Then, Whitney. Oh, Whitney. She looks quite cute, doesn't she? But no, if you're not prepared for this, I don't care what anyone says. Come at me in the comments all you want, right? Everyone had this experience when they first played this game. I don't care who the hell you are. We all know about it now. We didn't then. But Whitney was the one who ruined dreams. You walked in thinking, yep, I'm doing really well here. I've got the first 2 badges. This is going to be a piece of cake. The normal one, it's going to be great. You fight a first Pokemon, which is a Clefairy. You smash that. And then comes a cow. And you're thinking, okay, let's see what this cow can do. Oh my god. The cow. This thing ends dreams. It has Milk Drink to get its health back. It has Stomp, which I guarantee is going to flinch you. And then it's got Rollout, and that damage increases, well, it doubles every time it hits. Yes, on reflection, it can be beat with preparation. But at the time, I had no idea what was coming. My Croconaw got absolutely obliterated before my eyes, and I was like, what? What the fuck? I've just lost to a cow. Like, now, I sit there and laugh because I just use Rage on Croconaw, which is hilarious because Clefairy comes in, slaps me 5 times, and then my Rage is automatically the highest it could be, and I laugh my head off when I decide to fight the cow. But at the time, if you don't know, you're screwed. And if you've got Cyndaquil, you've got Cyndaquil, you're in so much trouble. Literally, he just sniffs the rock and goes, meh. And if you've got Shitterita, why haven't you let it go already? Why didn't let it go? But going back to the other point, 1 out of 2. Finally, a Johto Pokemon in the cow. Now with Morty, no, not Rick and Morty, you have to go to the Burnt Tower first before he makes his way to the gym. And when you go see the burnt tower, you learn that everyone wants to see these legendary dogs. And you fall through a hole. You definitely don't break both your ankles, which I'm pretty sure this would happen falling from that height. And you meet the dogs. They then run off, and they are now available to get to. And we will talk about that shortly. You go back to the gym, you do an floor invisible puzzle. That's the worst notes I've ever put. I've actually wrote floor invisible puzzle. This is why I just do these notes. I don't have a script. I have loose notes. Most of this I'm just ad-libbing, as you could probably tell. It's not a good way of doing it. I know it's not, but that's how I'm doing it. Either way, you fight Morty, and he's got no Johto Pokemon either. That's just a bit annoying. But after you fight Morty, you can kind of go in your own direction. You can go to the east, or you can go to the west. Now, the normal direction I go to the west, where I go find a lighthouse, where a Pokemon Amphi is sick. It needs medicine. So basically, this Ampharos is your light to save the fishermen and save the boats. So this is slavery. You keep it up there to use its tail as a light bulb. Surely that's slavery. Does that thing get a break? So, there are some questions I need to ask about that. Someone needs some answers for me. You're told by the gym leader Jasmine to go to an island further west to go get some medicine. And when you arrive on that island, you will fight the next gym leader, Chuck. And Chuck throws a rock, and holy shit, he literally launched that boulder. Like, it's got nothing to do with Pokemon, that's fine, but still, that's pretty impressive. I won't be able to do that. And also with him, unfortunately, yeah, it's 0 out of 2. He's got no Johto Pokemon either. You then speak to his wife, who body shames him and gives you fly. Yeah, bitch, I'm cancelling you. You won't be allowed to say that these days. Once you get the medicine, you go back, give it to the Ampharos, and they keep him there as a slave. It's ridiculous. Also, side notes, we're going to that Slowpoke tail thing. Are we okay with that? Like, Pokemon clearly get eaten. The Pokedex entries make it out that they hunt each other. Do we eat Slowpoke tails? Are we okay with this? Should I do it? I don't know. Like, would you eat a Pokemon? If you were given the choice, would you eat a Pokemon? Because here's the thing, I don't think I could. I don't know. Because they clearly have an idea of what the fuck is going on. They can understand you. Like, a cow has no clue. A cow has no clue it's going to be turned into a burger. You can't have a conversation with a cow and it's going to be able to, interact with you. Oh, fuck, I've upset some vegans now. Oh, the vegans are coming after me. Let's say I could go to a Magikarp, point at it and go, that's going to be you. And it'll go, oh shit, I don't want to be that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of the broader speaking topics here. These are things that maybe we should ask our future leaders. Ask Donald Trump, see what he thinks about this matter and see if he actually gives you a good answer. Biden won't. Now, you go and fight... Go back to the main point. You fight Jasmine, and she is the Steel Gym leader. Now, she has one Pokemon that is new, which is Steelix. I do love Steelix. It's so cool. It looks so cool. It's just so poo. It really is poo. It's terrible. I then head east to Mahogany Town and head north, where I go to the Lake of Rage. That is where you first encounter the red Gyarados, and it is so beautiful, and you get the chance to fight and capture it. Once you've done that, you will then see Count Dracula, I mean Lance, he looks like Count Dracula, and he wants to investigate what the hell is going on. You then go into the little hut, and Lance straight up kills a man. He has his Dragonite use Hyper Beam. Holy shit, Hyper Beam? Is that appropriate? It wasn't until years later we found out this guy survived. Well done, Game Freak. That's some good storytelling. You find out it's actually Team Rocket's headquarters, and you discover they've been sending a signal which is making Pokemon evolve early. Okay, so that Pidgey that Falconer had probably became a Pidgeotto early. You're not getting slammed for that. You then get told by Lance you've got to kill some Electrodes, and they can't be shut off. Why? Are they unconscious? Why can't we just... Why? Either way, you knock them out, solves the problem. Logic, people. After Team Rocket have been moved on, you then go do an ice puzzle to fight Price. He looks like an old man wearing little boy's clothes. It is. You look at that. He's like he's wearing little sailor boy clothes. He's got one Pokemon of Johto types in those three. Now, before we finish the gym challenge, we get called to go over to Goldenrod City. Team Rocket have taken over the radio tower. And basically, they just want Giovanni to come back. That's what they've done. Thirsty much?
That's me, big time. That's common for me.
We believe you. You're being too thirsty.
No, I'm hydrated.
Silver, though, wants another fight. This is like Blue when you went up the Sylph Company. This is not the right time to do this. It really isn't. You fight through all the grunts, you save the chairman, defeat the Team Rocket army, and they officially disband. It's actually a bit underwhelming, which is a bit of a shame. You do, however, get the legendary, well, either Rainbow or Silver Wing, to get the box legendary. You actually do get the corresponding one much later in the game. Now, once you go through another ice cave, you arrive in Blackthorn City, and here you fight Claire, who is Lance's cousin. Although, there's lava everywhere. How is no one cooking? That is an active lava pit, and we're just okay with it. We're not even going to question it. We're not going to question what happens if anyone even goes near it. Surely being that close to it is so dangerous. No, not a fucking eyeglass we're going to bat at that. Ridiculous. But at least she's got one Johto Pokemon, Kingdra, which does give you a pretty good fight because it's only got one weakness. So, out of all the gym leaders, out of the 23 Pokemon they 8 of them use, only 4 of them are Johto. That's poo. That is really, really, really poo. Do you know what? That's so poo. I'm going to make my own list. I'm going to go through each one, tell you what they should be using, and you tell me whether I think they're good or not. I'm not doing the levels, I'm just telling what Pokemon they should use. So this is what I would do. It's not perfect. I'll make that very clear. You can't make it perfect because you didn't have as many Pokemon as you do now. But I'll do my absolute best. So for Falconer, I would have a Hoot to begin with instead of a Pidgey, and then if you're going to have a cheating Pidgeotto, why not just go whole hog and go a cheating Octowl? There we go, that's easy enough. For Bugsy, yeah, this is an easy one as well. Just go a Spinarak, a Yanmega, and a Heracross. 3 bug types, straight from the off. I wouldn't go Scizor. As much as I love Scizor, I think that's a bit too much. I think at that stage, the player wouldn't be able to fight it. If you had a fire type, you'd be fine. But I think it could be a little bit too strong, so I'd probably stay with Heracross in that case. For Whitney, look, Whitney is iconic. The cow is so iconic. You can't change that. It has to remain. I would probably, instead of the little Clefable, I would stick in Schnubble. Schnabble. Yes, I will do impressions. That is what I do. Schnabble, schnabble, schnabble. Shut up. Shut up. You don't like it. Put it in the comments. I would probably put a Snubble and then a Milk Tank. Or you could put maybe a Togetic or a Togepi, although you don't really want to be hitting a baby. It's a bit mean. Well, some of you might. I don't know. I don't know what you guys do when you're not playing Pokemon. Don't hit babies. That's all I can say. Morty's quite problematic. Just because they only added 1 new ghost Pokemon into this generation, which was Mischievous. And so, yeah, you can't just have 1 Mischievous. It's not that strong of a Pokemon. So probably start it, and then once that gets KO'd, then have Haunter, then have Gengar. I just wouldn't have a Ghastly. Yeah, I'd probably just have the Mischievous and just leave it as that. Like, the Gengar's strong enough as it is. For Chuck, I would get rid of both his Pokemon, and I would just have a really strong Hitmontop. Because the trainers you fight before then, one has a Hitmonlee, one has a Hitmonchan, and I think that'd be a perfect way to signify and put it all roundabout if you've got a stronger Hitmontop. Again, not many fighting types to introduce. You could bring Heracross if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you could do Hitmontop and Heracross as both, but then you probably have to think of what you're doing for Heracross in the Bugsy battle. Yeah, that's just something you've got to think about, because you don't really want to be repeating your Pokemon in some of these battles. For Jasmine, well, Jasmine, I would get rid of the Magnemites. They'd be the first ones to go, and I'd replace them with just 1 Skarmory. I'd keep Steelix. Steelix has to stay, but I'd just put a Skarmory in instead, and that can introduce you to the idea of using spikes, because that's one thing Skarmory was used for. So yeah, I would have Skarmory and then Steelix to get into your conditions of Sandstorm and things like that. For price, I would just have it as Sneasel, Delibird, and Poliwhirl. I think that's fair enough. You could throw a Dugong if you wanted to add a little bit more, because you are near the end of the game. But, that'd be up to you. As for Claire, I wouldn't touch her. I don't think you can do anything. The only new Dragon type they added in Generation 2 was Kingdra. so dragon types, there were still barely any. So I really wouldn't touch that. I'd just leave it. It was a hard enough battle as it is if you're not prepared. So yeah, I'm happy with Claire. Not often that I say that, but you're alright. You can remain as it is. Now, they're just my opinion on what I think would be a good Johto gym leaders. Not necessarily the best, and you could probably say the Elite Four should be getting the same treatment, but I'm not going to do this for this video. But actually, I'm going to challenge all you guys in the comments. If you think you can make a really good Johto gym leaders and an Elite Four, I want to hear what you have. What are your reasons? What Pokemon are you going to pick? Let's see who can get the best versions of all the gym leaders in Elite Four and Champion to pick from. I'm actually quite intrigued what you're going to put in the comments below. After beating Claire, she's not very happy about it. She claims, no, you cheated somehow, I don't accept this, and makes you go behind in a cave to Dragon's Den, where in Gold and Silver you have to collect a Dragon Fang. Once you do that, she then gives you the badge and you're ready to beat the Elite Four. But first, you might want to go get your box legendary. Now, not actually required for you to do, but it's still cool to have that. In Pokemon Gold, you'll come against Ho-Oh, a fire flying type, which is high in special attack and has the move Sacred Fire, which is a high chance of burning. Lugia is on Pokemon Silver, and it's a psychic flying type, high in special defense. The thing I have, why the hell are you not water flying? Like, you're the guardian of the sea. The movie, you come from the water. You learn all the water HMs. You learn Hydro Pump. Why are you psychic? Why can't you be water? That'd be so cool if you were. Oh, that honestly ruins Lugia. I hate the fact it's psychic. I wish it was water. It'd be so much cooler if that was the case. Damn you, Game Freak. What have you done to my boy? Once you've done this, the last thing you could probably want to do before you fight the Elite Four is go hunting for the legendary dogs. Yes, I believe they're dogs. People may say they're beasts. Shut up. I believe they're dogs. Now, once you see them for the first time, they will run away, and you can encounter them randomly on the map. They will immediately run, so don't worry, it's not a problem if they do run, you're going to be able to find them. Once you've seen them for the first time, they will appear on the Pokédex, and you can see where they appear. However, the annoying little thing is every time you go to a new route, they've suddenly jumped across the world, which is somewhat impossible, but they're able to do it. But there is a formula to get them appear to where you want. But once they appear, you need a Pokemon which is faster than them. It also has to have the ability Mean Look, be able to put them to sleep. Yeah, because there's a lot. If you don't have a Pokemon that's faster, it will immediately run. If you don't use the move Mean Look, it will run. If you don't put them to sleep, yet they have the move Roar, which ends the battle, for God's sake. And once you put it to sleep, it's up to you. Do you want to try and whittle its health down and hope to God it doesn't use Roar when it wakes up? Or do you want to use a Master Ball? Or just put it to Lady Luck, I don't know. Either way, there are 3 cool Pokemon for you to do. Entei, a Fire type, Suicune, a Water type, or Raikou, an Electric type. This probably means you could head to the Elite Four with a box legendary, 3 dogs, and your starter, which actually isn't that bad. You complete Victory Road, which is very different compared to the first, which I never understood, considering it's meant to be a continuation. And you fight Silver one more time. But after this battle, he finally gets it. He understands that, yeah, Pokemon aren't tools of war. And you do actually get to fight him again after the story, and at that point you see his Golbat has evolved to Crobat, which means it evolved through friendship, so he managed to work out all his issues. Aren't you good, Silver? See, that's character development right there and then. It's great, isn't it? It is now time to fight the Elite Four. We've done it once in Red, Blue and Yellow, we can do it again in Gold and Silver. You know the drill. 4 trainers, then the champion. That's all I've got to do. So this time, it's a different Elite Four. I don't like change. I hate change. First up is Will, who is a Psychic user. He's not too bad to beat, although his Zatus are a bit of a pain in the backside because they just use confusion stuff. Once you get rid of them, it's pretty much easy going. Koga is now an Elite Four member. Yep, he's got a promotion, which means someone's got a demotion, which pretty much sucks. But Koga is back to his old ways and trying to use his tricks and using things like spikes, poison, double web, double team. What's double web? It's not even a word. Double team. Stuff like that just to really, really annoy you. But as long as you've got a fire type, you should be fine. Bruno is next. Well, Bruno didn't lose his position. He has added a few more fighting types to the mix, which is great, and he's a bit more of a threat than he was in the initial games. And finally, there's Karen. Yeah, before Karen became a thing, she was a gym leader. She's the Dark type Elite Four member, and she's pretty strong. Well, she could be, and she has an Umbreon, and if you let that Umbreon pretty much get settled in, you're in big trouble. She also came out with a line after you beat her, how Pokemon is not about using the best types, it's about using the ones you like. And I really like that line, because now there's over 1,000 Pokemon for you to choose from. It's pretty easy to use the best, say, top 20 ones and just have a combination from them. But if you can win a tournament with the Pokemon that you like, I think that's really cool. I've kind of got to that stage now where if I want to do a competitive battle anymore, I just use the ones I like Raichu. I love Raichu, and just have a bit more fun with it. So after leaving Karen and having actually left with a nice feeling rather than normally do when you deal with Karens, you come up against Lance, aka Count Dracula. He has 3 Dragonites under his control, and 2 of them are under level 50. Now, previously I always thought he was a bit of a cheat, but he was the Lake of Rage, where they had that device which forced Pokemon to evolve. So there is a potential his Dragonairs were forced to evolve. That's the only way I can really see why he has those Dragonites. Otherwise, he's a big, big cheat. Needless to say, as long as you've got a Pokemon with Ice Beam, you'll win. You'll absolutely floor this, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue. And that would be it. You become the Pokemon League champion for the 2nd time. Well, in your career, I should say. But, very much like the first one, there's a post-game. Now, in Red, Blue, and Yellow, there wasn't much of a post-game. But this time, the developers thought this was going to be their last hurrah, that they weren't going to get a 3rd game. So they put a huge post-game in, well, compared to the first. You get the offer to go explore Kanto, and for me, this was an absolute dream. You get to see what's happened to the world in the 2 years that you've been there. And it's quite interesting. Cinnabar Island was destroyed by a volcano, and Blaine has had to relocate his gym. Lavender Town is now a radio station. Like, what the fuck? They moved all the Pokemon's graves to Mr. Fuji's house. But yeah, look, I'm counting bullshit on that one because that was a freaking graveyard. I'm sorry, no, you can't take a whole graveyard and put it in someone's house. Like, what happens if someone has an onyx buried there? Like, it's ridiculous. Imagine doing that now. Sorry, I'm just getting grandma out from the ground. Why? Well, I'm just going to make way for a radio tower. The power plant, which was pretty much abandoned in Red, Blue, and Yellow, is now working. There is also a side quest related to that, and I absolutely hated it. You had to go find a part from this guy. Just stupid. But the main lore about going back to Kanto is you get to go pretty much where you want and fight all the Kanto trainers. The only difference here is that Koga is now gone and his daughter Janine in, and because Giovanni has left Team Rocket, it's blue, which is pretty cool. The gym leaders are all there, but they're significantly stronger than what they were, but still weaker than Lance, which is a bit meh. Like, being the post-game, I thought they would have been a lot stronger. Like, stronger than Lance. But the argument's going to be is that if they were stronger than Lance, then they could beat Lance, which means they could become the Pokemon League champion. I know that kind of makes sense story-wise, but really it would have been better if they just had stronger Pokemon than Lance. Come on, we just went wink wink, we know what's going on. But also, fighting Blue was really, really cool. I so enjoyed fighting Blue to see his team, but he hasn't got any of the starter Pokemon this time, unlike the previous one in Red, Blue, and Yellow. Other Pokemon were now available in the game, such being Houndour, which would have been really good had we had that prior when we were in Kanto. You can also get access to the pseudo-legendary, which is Larvitar, which eventually evolves into Tyranitar. Again, I would have liked this earlier. Evolution Stones are available in Kanto, but hardly any of them, which is still stupid. Like, ridiculous. I don't know why they didn't make them readily available. But you also do realise that Kanto is quite small compared to Johto. Look, I didn't care as a child, I really didn't care. I was just happy it was in there. And people can look back and go, well yeah, the post-game is really small, like Viridian Forest is the size of a crumb. But as a kid, I don't care. They crammed so much into that little cartridge that I was happy about it. They could have just said, well, we're just doing Johto and that's going to be it, and not even do anything about Kanto, not even link the worlds, and we would have been happy about it. But hey ho, we got what we got. Aside from beating the gym leaders, you also get the chance to get the other box legendary at level 70. There's a gentleman in Pewter City who will give you the item that you need, and you can go back to Johto and go get that legendary. And you're probably gonna need it. See, once you beat all the gym leaders of Kanto, you end up having 16 gym badges, and Professor Oak gives you permission, as if he is the guardian of all, to go to Mount Silver. Here, you will climb the summit and see some of the strongest Pokemon in the game. And once you get to the top and you come to the clearing, you see a lone figure there. And this, for me, was unbelievable. That lone figure was Red from the previous game. I could not believe it. I'm fighting myself. What? When has there been a game like this in the past? This battle could be one for the ages. And it is. The battle itself is, I consider, very epic. His Pokemon at that point were the highest in the game, in their 70s. He had a Pikachu, an Espeon, a Snorlax, and Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard. It was incredible. As a side note, you need to be prepared that there's a huge jump in levels from when you fought Blue to when you go fight Red. After you beat him, he disappears, and the game is truly over. You can fight him again once you fight the Elite Four, but now the plan is to go catch them all and train the best team to become the best there ever was. The reception of these games was ridiculously positive. It often received a lot of perfects. IGN gave it 10 out of 10 and said, too much water. Oh shit, that's the next game. And by 2010, Gold and Silver had sold 23 million units worldwide, which is insane for a Game Boy game. But because Nintendo and Game Freak like money, they decided to release the definitive version in Crystal soon after. Crystal was definitely chasing that dollar. This added, however, a ton of new features, and really did make it the best version you could play. Each Pokemon had a battle animation, which was really good, so every time the Pokemon would come in, they would do a little move. Although Sudowoodo, whatever that is surely gonna get you on some sort of list. It also adds a girl, which means Professor Oak can be even more confused. Are you a boy, or is it a girl? I swear Professor Oak is on the verge of being cancelled in 2024. There were story elements that were changed for the game. There was more of a focus on Suicune, and rather than you trying to find him randomly when he appears in a random battle, he would be at certain points around the map. There was also a Dragon's Den quiz added after you beat Claire. I like this because I tried to give wrong answers, but apparently the old man couldn't hear me. Like, I actually think this is really the best way to play it, and I actually wonder if I own a copy of it. Surely I've got to have a copy of this back home somewhere. There was the ability to try and use a mobile phone, mobile phones back in those days, to get an event which allows you to get Celebi. However, this only worked in Japan, which is really annoying. So no Celebi for the rest of the world, because it was a grass psychic type and it was the mythical Pokemon like Mew was in Red, Blue and Yellow. And this event was really cool because when you got it, you got to go to the Elix Forest and this happened. Although some while later, the rest of the world did get to see this after it was released on the 3DS, which was pretty cool. Pokémon Crystal also added a battle tower. Now this was quite primitive into what we have now, but this battle tower was for the best of the best, where you could go in and you would fight 7 battles against other gym leaders, where you would fight 7 trainers in a row where you'd be trying to get items that would increase stats. Now, these battles would start at level 10, they'd then go to level 20, 30, 40, and you can see it's going all the way to all level 100, which meant that some Pokemon wouldn't have been able to participate. So for example, Mewtwo couldn't take part in the level 20 tournament. He could take part in level 70 going forward. But when you do the level 10 tournament, you need to look at what moves are available to some Pokemon as soon as they're born, because they're not going to have access to all the best moves. Although just use Dragon Rage and you'll win. But the opponents that you face often have some of the best stats in the game. And Pokemon breeding at that point wasn't really that strong. Because at Generation 2 time, trying to get the best stats for your Pokemon and the ways to do it wasn't really well explained, and the breeding system was really brand new. However, the AI didn't understand that we didn't have that knowledge, so it just went to the best of the best stats where we're trying to figure stuff out. Which meant this was a real challenge, especially when you're trying to do any tournament past level 10, I imagine. I think sadly I'm never actually partaking in that, but it would be a good challenge going forward if I wanted to do so. Let me know if you have done these tournaments, and if you have done, please put what teams you had in there. Stadium 2 was also released for the N64, which is a pumped up version of the first game. Yes, I did own this, and yes, I did sell this like an absolute idiot. And I played the absolute heck out of this because it was so much fun to have. And when me and my friends used to battle on Pokemon Stadium 2, God, we would play for hours. The team I would often use is Starmie, Raiden, Entei, Blissey, Zapdos, and Alakazam. This is by no means the best team, and if I was to go back now and rewrite my history, oh my word, there'd be a T-Tar in there, Tyranitar would be front and centre, and Snorlax would probably be in there as well. But I would also want to hear in the comments, what is your Gen 2 team? What are the best ones that you can think of? Because I was still quite naive when it came to Pokemon at this point, so I guarantee there'll be ones I missed and setups that I should have been doing. Because yeah, I'm still learning, we're all still learning about this game. Generation 2 Pokemon were focused in a lot of the Pokemon movies. Remember in the first one when we suddenly saw a Donphan and we're like, what is that? Our little mind could not take it. And the movies 2000, Entei and the Unknown, and Pokemon Forever, they were there as well. They were all based on Gold and Silver and Crystal. Pokemon the Movie 2000 was incredible. For me it was because it showcased Slowking, and I love Slowking. It also showed off Lugia, again, you are the guardian of the seas, and it's also the guardian of the legendary bird trio. Just slapping them and say, stop it, stop being bad birds. The third film, Entei and the Unknown, well, Unknown did absolutely nothing in the game. They tried to do a little bit more in Crystal, but I still thought that was a stupid idea. But in this movie, they were really cool, and seeing Entei was just dramatic as anything. And Pokemon Forever, the fourth film, I have no idea on that one. All I know, it's got Suicune and it's got Celebi in. That's about it. That's about all you're getting from me, because I have no chance what's going on. The games were so revered that eventually, in 2009 Japan and 2010 everywhere else, they released the remakes of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They were given the Generation 4 treatment, and they're often considered the best remakes and the best Pokemon games in the series. Now, I'm not going into it now because, really, that's a whole video in itself, and they really are the definitive Pokemon games. They're the ones that cost an absolute fortune whenever you go to trade shows. But also, it cements Red as an absolute badass because his Pikachu becomes an absolute god during those games. There have been talk in the future that they're going to remake these games again in the Let's Go style, and it's going to be called Let's Go Johto, but no, please God, I never want to see those games. Not a chance do I want to see those games. Hate me if you want, I don't want to see it. But either way, Generation 2 still has a little hold on my heart. Yes, it's not as popular for me as Generation 1, that's never going to be beaten. But Generation 2, the developers tried to really outdo themselves. They improved 99% of what happened in Generation 1, and they went with a bang, thinking this was gonna be it. And remember, when these games came out, Pokemania had not really taken over in the West, and they didn't even think they were going to be getting a third game. This was it. But thankfully, Pokemania did take hold, and these games then just became the basis for what is now the biggest media franchise in the world. I said, I still stand by these games. They're great games to play today, and they're still so much fun. If you are going to play a version, play the Crystal version, because that really is the definitive one. I do hope they come on the Nintendo Switch Online one day, But it's Nintendo, so probably not. But overall, I enjoyed these games. They still hold a place in my heart, and they always will, because I hate Shitterito. And that's it. That's the end of this retrospective of Pokémon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very much for listening all the way till the end. If you want to hear more of me, then go over to Retro Wars, wherever you get your podcasts from, where each week me and a friend will talk about the video games we used to play back when we were kids. Pokemon Gold and Silver are on there, along with other Pokemon games, but until then, I have to think about what game we're going to be doing next for the show. But I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.